and I was in a dance class and I felt pain in my knee. So I went to the campus doctor and I said, I'm having this thing happening. And he said, no worries, you're not injured. You simply need to strengthen your quadriceps. The feeling was, wow, this is awkward. I don't know how to do this. My muscles are burning, but wow, is this fun? And I stayed, and that was around the time of like step aerobics and that big boom. And so I stayed with that gym, and on the days that I wasn't training with Jackie, I would go to step classes. And it was such a like romantic time, if you will, in the fitness industry. And I think that when you have to kind of pick yourself up and go forward and find the strength within, you're going to develop the ability to listen, whether it's to yourself or to other people. And that was survival. I had the strength within to rebuild. And it was that strength that allowed me to step forward without, waking up and crying every day. Instead, I could wake up and say, no, wait, I can do this. I've got this. We land, and I exited the plane, and I could see everyone sort of buzzing about, and everyone was congregating over by the bar because there were television screens. And as I walked over to the television screen, that's when Tower 2 came down. And I could feel the fear and the sadness gripping me, and I didn't know what to do.
I'm Dan Metcalfe. Thank you for tuning into the Born Superhuman podcast. I'm so proud of the guests and stories that we bring to you, and I know that you'll enjoy what we have ahead. Please like, subscribe, and follow. It really makes a huge difference in our ability to continue these conversations being brought to you. And if you feel the passion behind Born Superhuman, please share it with your friends and family and leave a comment. I read every one. Now, let's get on with the show. Hi, welcome back to Born Superhuman. So today, my guest is someone I'm so excited to have on the show, but for a different reason than normal. So not only is she a doctor in education and a certified professional trainer, and when I say professional trainer, it's because of the level she goes to, not just a personal trainer, and also someone that's been teaching yoga for over 30 years, although you wouldn't know looking at her. But the reason I'm so excited to have her here today is I saw her speaking on stage. And I only got to catch about 2 minutes of it because I was off doing an interview elsewhere. But in those 2 minutes, it gripped me with the heart and the soul that she spoke with. And so I had to have her come on Born Superhuman because of the impact she has on millions of people around the world. Having featured on ABC, NBC, and so many places, I'm so proud to have Dr. Desi Bartlett here today on Born Superhuman. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. And I had the great pleasure of hearing you speak at the event as well. And your voice, not only does it carry the power of the words and the wisdom, but there's a resonance and a gravitas that just makes you want to sit and take it all in.
That's very kind of you to say. And again, I feel so much that way, even though we only connected for a short time. So proud to have you here today because I know the message you have will impact everybody listening. So let me ask you this before we get into this. Tell me about you as a young girl growing up. Was this something that you saw as fitness and health and leadership in your vision? Or as a young girl, what were you thinking?
Oh, goodness. So I grew up with a single mom who was a hippie, and she was a disciple of a wonderful guru, a wonderful teacher named Goswami Kriyananda in Chicago. So I grew up with meditation and the practice of yoga from a very early age, and I was gifted my first mantra at 6 years old. And I always thought I wanted to be a ballerina, and I went to dance class earnestly, but that is not my body type. I'm not very tall, and my feet don't have that beautiful arch. And what I found was that my passion started to change. I knew that I wanted to share health and wellness. I knew that I wanted to share the gift of movement. I just didn't know what it was going to look like until college.
So what age then did you figure out? Because you might not know, I was a ballet dancer.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so I have a huge love and respect for ballet. And
I certainly didn't have I started late, but was able to go on and perform, which was great. But what was it like when you decided or discovered that you weren't going to be a ballet dancer?
So it was okay, and it was a gift. When I was in college, I was originally a broadcasting major and a dance minor. And I was in a dance class and I felt pain in my knee. So I went to the campus doctor and I said, I'm having this thing happening. And he said, no worries, you're not injured. You simply need to strengthen your quadriceps. And I said, what is a quadricep? And he said, you need to go to the gym. And as fate would have it, that same evening, I met fourth place Miss Olympia that year, Jackie Paisley, may she rest in peace. And I told her what was happening. And she had also been in the same dance program, which I had no idea. And she said, I've got you, girl. I will meet you at the gym tomorrow morning. And I fell in love with the feeling of strength. And I changed my major immediately.
So hang on a minute. The first time you really went to a gym, you meet fourth place Mr. Olympia female competitor, and that became your trainer?
So I was in a sorority at Arizona State University, and the evening of the same day when I saw the doctor, she happened to be the speaker at our sorority. And that was where I met her. And she took me to the gym the next morning. And yes, that was my very first trainer.
Okay, when we talk about destiny and that things are meant to be in our life, it's amazing how it shows up. And I tell everyone listening, we're all born with these superhuman abilities. We just have to be open to receive them. So the doctor that really um, changed your vision of you was the catalyst to lead you to where you are today, but he'll never know it. But so how was that first workout? What was the feeling like?
The feeling was, wow, this is awkward. I don't know how to do this. My muscles are burning, but wow, is this fun? And I stayed, and that was around the time of like step aerobics and that big boom. And so I stayed with that gym. And on the days that I wasn't training with Jackie, I would go to step classes. And it was such a like romantic time, if you will, in the fitness industry, that everything was just bigger than life. You know, we had the leg warmers and the socks and all the things, and I just fell in love with the entire culture of fitness.
That's hilarious because I don't know if you know, but I taught step aerobics out here at Powerhouse Gym in California when I first came out here. And the leg warmers and the spandex, and no one has to think about me in those spandex, but what a great time it was and the energy. And I feel people in those days were actually healthier than they are today because they were moving more than they were sitting. But where was your transition to go from now I'm a participant to now you discovered your own power to be a great educator and a leader in the health and fitness world? What was that journey?
Hmm. So, when I changed my major, I also changed schools. I was originally at Arizona State, and then I moved over to University of Illinois at Chicago because I'm originally from Chicago. And I put myself through school by personal training and teaching group fitness at East Bank Club, which is like a city unto itself. And there's a quarter mile track inside. There's three restaurants. There's a dry cleaner. There's a hair salon. In addition to 1,000 pieces of cardiovascular equipment, the list goes on. And so it was by putting myself through school, working in the industry, that I was able to sort of simultaneously become a teacher or a trainer, in addition to still continuing to educate myself and learn, because I knew that there would be quite literally decades of education ahead of me that I would benefit from so that I could share that with others.
So was your first step then professionally? Was that you as a personal trainer? Was this going into yoga and becoming a teacher? What was, because you've got so much ability, diversity. You're an author, you've created products as well. But what was that first step and what is your passion now compared to that first day?
The first step was really as a personal trainer and working one on one. And I'm so grateful for that experience because My passion today is really for working with groups, and whether that's on a retreat or digitally or, in person here in Hawaii in my studio, I love the energy of a group. But in order to serve a group, I feel like we need to be able to connect with people individually and see who they are. See, it's not just a body that's in front of you, it's a whole entire being. It's their heart, it's their mind, it's their spirit. And to honor that within a group setting and to be able to see each person as an individual, I had to work one-on-one first to get that skill set.
So how much of that skill set, though, going back to your communication excellence and looking at the program that you were going through with the education side, taps in? Because I see a lot of people that are knowledgeable, but they can't communicate and they've never studied how to communicate. And I've seen great communicators that just don't have the knowledge. But you've brought them both together. How much of that ability is the communication side compared to the knowledge of training?
So I have people often tell me that I'm empathic, and that could be a double-edged sword, I don't necessarily want to feel everything that everyone's feeling, and I've had to learn how to have very clear boundaries with that. But even more so than communicating verbally, I'm able to communicate, I think, through emotion. And I can very much feel what people are feeling around me. And I think some of that is innate, and some of that is simply because of how I grew up. I don't usually go deep into this story, but because it's for the purpose of inspiration, I am honored to. I left home at 16. And I think that when you have to kind of pick yourself up and go forward and find the strength within, you're going to develop the ability to listen, whether it's to yourself or to other people. And that was survival.
So at 16, you left home, which is just where you really found yourself, is where I'm going to take that.
Yeah.
And you started college in Arizona at 18?
17.
17. So what did you do between leaving home and then starting college? And what was the greatest lesson that you learned about yourself?
So thank goodness I did have extended family who could step up and take me in for the last year of high school. And then when I went to college, I think what I really learned was that I had the strength within to rebuild. And it was that strength that allowed me to step forward without, waking up and crying every day. Instead, I could wake up and say, no, wait, I can do this. I've got this.
Well, it certainly carried you through. And everyone that listens here knows that I say everything that happens to us is a gift if we wrap it correctly, and
Yes.
you wrapped it perfectly. So then you go from into the personal trainer. At what point did the yoga come in? Because I know we've got some things we're going to really dive deep into about personal health and happiness and joy. But where did the yoga come in? Because I know that's a huge foundation for you.
So I did grow up with it as a child. And again, through my mother's guru, I was introduced to meditation at a very young age. After I graduated, first with my master's degree from UIC, I moved to Cabo San Lucas. I'm half Mexicana, and I did not grow up with my biological father, and I wanted to learn Spanish and how to be Mexicana. Entonces me fui a Mexico. So I moved to Cabo and I opened a small gym of my own. And I was teaching step and personal training down there. And this amazing yoga teacher from mainland Mexico came to my studio and he said, "May I teach a class here?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And when I took his class, there was this full body remembering of, oh, I know how to do this. And I used to do this when I was a little girl. So I became a little bit obsessed. That's kind of what I do. When there's something that I love and that sparks something in me, I get a little myopic and I just go. So from Cabo, I would go to LA all the time for every yoga teacher training that there was. I have so many certifications, it's a little embarrassing, but it's because it lights me up.
What a beautiful story. And again, when I look at the people that come into your life for a moment and then impact it in such a dynamic way that you've been able to take so many different areas and aspects and gift them to other people through your passion. And anybody that's listening to this on Spotify, you've got to look at Dr. Desi's energy, not just in her voice, but I see it coming through your eyes. Great education, great opportunity in life that you took with both hands and jumped full in. So one of the things when you were on the stage at the Coach 360 Career Lab that you talked about was joy, taking a breath, which we know is connected both to the proper exercise form and also to yoga and meditation. Take us into your guidance, your passion for breath work and the oxygen that we're consuming.
So I love to combine the ancient technology of yoga with modern science. And what I see now is that so many people are talking about breath work, and I'm like, oh, it's pranayam. If the military is talking about box breathing, it's a form of yogic breathing. And what I've learned over the years is that not only does it help to oxygenate our cells and to affect internal pressure and support blood flow, but it also helps with all of the processes like taking care of the viscera, taking care of the organs. When we take a great big diaphragmatic breath and the diaphragm moves down and the pelvic floor moves down, so too does our blood, right? The blood flow. And then when we exhale and everything moves up, it's like all of that blood gets sucked up by the organs again. And you have this beautiful pump, and your organs are moving almost like seaweed in the water. And that's where our life is. That's our life force energy. It isn't in the chest breathing that so many of us are kind of stuck in, especially if we're doom scrolling or watching the news. So if we can teach people to breathe properly, to find that full diaphragmatic breath and to quite literally drink in life, it's going to nourish all of our cells.
Is there a certain, because I know that with breath work, and a vast majority of the world's population breathe in their upper respiratory system, which then sets off that fight and flight. We're in a sympathetic system, even though we think we're living relaxed. Is there a favorite breathing pattern that you love for people at the end of the day to bring themselves back down, especially before sleep? Because we know sleep is a big issue for people. And I know breath work is huge for that.
Yeah. So I like one of the techniques that I really, really love is called Ujjayi Pranayam. Ujjayi means victorious, and pranayam, you can call it breath work, but it's really life force energy. And so you're bringing in this feeling of like victory and strength into the body and the mind. And all it is the diaphragmatic breath with the inhalation and the exhalation being equal in duration. So I like to count, for example, inhaling, filling the belly, filling the chest, filling the space under the collarbones. Slow, steady exhalation. 1, 2, 3. Feel the abdominal wall drawing in, hugging towards your spine. And we feel that wave rising again. So when we have equal length in inhalation and exhalation, I find that it brings more of a feeling of balance to our system. Now, if you've had a really difficult day and you know that you're in sympathetic overdrive and you were stuck in traffic on the 405 and you're like, oh my gosh, and you need to quite literally change the channel in your mind. If you extend the length of the exhalation, it's just a real easy technique to kind of override the system of being stressed. So if you inhale, let's say for 4, and then stretch the exhalation out to 6, you will feel everything just kind of downshift in a really sweet way.
That comes down to the carbon dioxide beginning to dominate, and then we breathe and we consume more oxygen because we're now at a deficit rather than those short breaths. Is that connected to our emotional setup as well?
Oh my goodness, yes, of course. You are speaking my language. So we are not silos of like health and fitness. It isn't our brain and then our heart and then our body. My diaphragm, what does my diaphragm have to do with my brain and what I feel? It has everything to do. It is all interconnected. And so if I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here with you, but I'm a little bit nervous. My breath might be up here just a little bit. If I can drop into my breath and find that sense of security and stability in myself, then I can be more present with you. And so I just love to remind people that it is all interconnected. And if you want to go in from the breath, fantastic. If you want to go in more from the mindset, wonderful. If you want to go in from your heart, great. There are many different doors to the same path, but eventually they all converge.
I have to ask you, are you a singer?
No.
Just had to ask from the point of view that I was a singer, with Lloyd Webber, obviously, and breath work is the foundation for all singing. So I was wondering whether, talking about the diaphragm and the way we breathe and the control that we have you tried singing?
I have not.
I'm going to challenge you to go and start singing, because I think with your breath
Really?
work, it'd be great. And you're going to be one of those people that you've already said, okay, I'm into it. And next thing you know, you're going to be singing opera over in Italy. But when it comes to going to sleep at night, we know people freak out that I'm not sleeping, I'm not going to sleep. Okay, I want to sleep. And they're trying all these different protocols and different products to try and help themselves sleep. What would you advise for breath work to put them, because you can't sleep when you're in a stress state? How do we go to that parasympathetic system?
So, I recently completed my doctoral dissertation in ways that yoga can help to mitigate perimenopausal symptoms. And one of the major symptoms that we see in perimenopausal women is um, is are is sleep disturbances. And what happens is either they can't fall asleep immediately, or there are several points of wakefulness during the evening. By the way, that has the worst name ever. It's called terminal insomnia. It,
What a great name. Thanks for making
right?
me feel good about myself. Yeah.
Yes. So whether you're a perimenopausal woman like I am, or simply a human that has some sleep disturbances or difficulty falling asleep, we need practical techniques. And to your point, deep breathing can absolutely help. There's also a wonderful practice from the ancient technology of yoga called Yoga Nidra, in which we close our eyes and we begin to move through the layers of self. So you move through the physical, you move to the breath, you move to the mind, and then you move on to the bliss state. Now, we see it packaged in a lot of different ways now. I'm thinking of one particular scientist who calls it, I think it's NSDR, non-sleep deep rest. We can also use things like guided meditation or progressive relaxation. You can't do it wrong, is the point, right? As long as I can get you into either ujjayi, which is the deep, balanced breath, or slightly longer exhalations while releasing tension in the physical body, because again, it's all interconnected, then I can invite you into the sleep state, not from a place of passing out after a long day, but from a place of deep rest. My point is to set you up for slumber, restorative slumber, not, oh my God, I'm so tired, I got to pass out now.
So how does that work with mindset? Because I've been there many times where I want to go to sleep. I'm beginning to go into this meditation state. I'm breathing, I'm feeling the air going into my body. I'm breathing out nice and slow. I feel my body becoming heavy. And over time, I was able to work that into sleep. But a lot of people that I'm fortunate enough to work with, their mind is turning off the body, that it's this fight going on, this yin and yang. My body's beginning to relax, but my mind's going, this isn't going to work. And then we start thinking about the things that are keeping us awake. How much is mindset for you within this to be able to turn off the environment that you've brought to bed and allow yourself to become one with you?
So, in those instances, when you find that you're fighting your own mind, I really suggest an external voice. So, a guided meditation. And for me, I love to listen to people like you who have that voice that's like warm honey, where you just want to listen and drift off, because we can't always turn off that inner voice by ourselves. But if we're listening to someone else's voice, it's a little bit easier. Additionally, I remember I had a teacher a long time ago, and she would say, the mind is like a monkey, like a drunken monkey, and it moves from thought to thought. But rather than try to fight the monkey, give it a banana, give it something to chew on, give it something to do. So if I'm listening to, a beautiful resonant voice saying, relax your shoulders, let the weight of the world be removed from your shoulders. Then I can follow the guidance instead of fighting with the voice in my head.
So do you have any of those programs yourself that people could get?
Yeah, I do. On my website. My website's just my name, desibartlett.com. I love to help people with guided meditation, whether it's to amp up and to, get ready for the day or to find that sense of peace.
I was going to say, what a shame, because if you didn't, you could write it and I could speak it with my voice,
Ooh,
and then we could do it that way. So,
let's do that
but,
too.
oh, I'd love to, which would be great. But but back to you, because I was suddenly thinking, you're saying the voice. I look forward to going and listening to yours as well, because I agree 100% that sometimes when I was in the worst places of sleep, having an outside influence on my system, on my relaxation, and taking me out of where I was invaluable. So thank you for sharing that. What about, and again, I just want to say in here, you focus mainly on women. Your programs are really women centric, which I think is great. But before we carry on, I want to say to the men, keep listening, because we're still talking about the human body. We're still talking about the mindset. We're still talking about what's good for us and the health. And we are roughly made up the same way. We just sometimes have different approaches. So keep listening in here. So let's go into the female side of exercise and wellness, because I know, again, this is something you specialize in. What do you find right now is the number one issue that women are suffering from in today's society?
Too much information. It's confusing. There's simply too much information. And I have women coming to me saying, I don't know, am I supposed to take this peptide? Am I supposed to be on a GLP-1? Should I take estrogen? Should I take progesterone? Should I listen to this expert? Should I go to my doctor? When I go to my doctor, he or she is not listening. And it's this like, it's like the monkey mind, right? There's just too much, too many voices, too much happening all at once. And I often ask people to stay off Google for at least a little while, because Google will confirm all of your hopes and fears. So really just taking the time to first go into meditation. And there's a beautiful yogic technique. It's called Svadhyaya, which is just kind of fun to say. And Svadhyaya is simply self-study. And so we're going to take the time to take that internal inventory. How is my body today? The actual physical body. How is my mind? What's going on between my ears? How is my heart? How am I feeling emotionally? How is all of that coming together? And while I do work primarily with women, and that's really my passion, I've worked with some incredibly well-known gentlemen, professional athletes and singers and all of the things. And we're all human beings, and I think it's really important that whether you're a man or a woman, whatever stage or phase of life you're in, that you first go within before asking the world to tell you what's wrong with you, because the world will have a lot of answers.
Yeah, I found that out during the whole coronavirus time frame. Whatever you searched for, you would find. So if you want to live in fear, you'll find the most fearful information. If you want to live in the self-belief that we are born to heal and get through challenges, then you can find that. But what would you suggest then? So you said going through sometimes it's a trauma, it's a shock, you get some bad news, or you're just feeling unwell. Like my sister went to the doctor and they go, there's nothing wrong with you, but she knew there was something wrong. And you spend years searching. Where can you find then your best friend to also give you the peace to go into meditation?
Hmm. So, if you are practicing meditation regularly, then it's like having your best friend with you daily. That voice is inside already, and you trust it, and you know, okay, I can go there. When it comes to Western medicine, I think it's fantastic. I don't think that it has to be the only way, though. And I think that, going to naturopaths and Eastern doctors can also be a wonderful complement. And I love to share with people, if your doctor is not the right fit, if they are not listening to you, if they are dismissing what you are telling them, you have the power to walk out with grace. You can say, thank you so much for your opinion. I don't think we're a good fit, and exit and find another one, because you deserve that. You deserve to be heard.
I love that because it's not about finding someone that says what you want to hear. It's
Mm.
about finding someone that cares about you and is invested into you to find the best solution. So I love that. Great advice. I'd like to know, what is the hardest thing you've ever gone through?
Ooh, just a light question, Dan, right? Uh,
Yeah. And the reason I ask this while you're thinking, it's not to get so personal, but I think sometimes when you're a leader and you've found a lot of solutions, people think you've always been there. It's like the overnight success that took 20 years.
Yeah.
So when we often our greatest learning comes from our own suffering. What was, again, same question. What is something that you went through or the hardest thing you went through where you did suffer the same fear or uncertainty that most people go through, and yet you found the strength to find the solution?
I was on a plane September 11th, 2001. I had gone back to Chicago for my 30th birthday, and I was on my way to Cabo San Lucas, where I was living at the time. About, I don't know, 40 minutes into the flight, we heard the pilot come over the loudspeaker and say, "We are landing. Something has happened." We didn't know what had happened. We just knew that we were nowhere near Mexico, right? So we land, and I exited the plane, and I could see everyone sort of buzzing about, and everyone was congregating over by the bar because there were television screens. And as I walked over to the television screen, that's when Tower 2 came down. And I could feel the fear and the sadness gripping me, and I didn't know what to do. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I don't know anyone in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And thank goodness the airline gave me a hotel. I found the hotel, and I was watching the news. The news wasn't as crazy then, it wasn't the news cycle of like every channel, every moment, but every channel had these images. And I was watching and watching and watching, and I could feel something inside of me say, turn it off, turn it off. And so I turned it off, and I went into this deep state of meditation and prayer. And I just asked, how can I be of service? How can I be of service? How can I help? Because the world was suffering in such a profound way. And the answer that I heard, oh, I'm going to cry. The answer that I heard was, share your gifts, share your gifts. And so I knew that it was time to stop playing small, to stop being a personal trainer in Cabo, and to move back to my country, back to the US, and to create media for others. And it might sound silly or trite to some, but at that time, my dream was to be like Denise Austin. I'm like, I just want to make, like VHS tapes of working out. And so I got back to Cabo. I sold everything. I sold all the gym equipment, my business. 3 weeks later, I moved to LA, and the rest is history. I met my husband 2 weeks after that. I was hired by a local gym, and then by Equinox, I was the group fitness manager. I went on to do 10 DVDs, and it was all because I was listening to the voice inside that I believe comes from all that is.
But still, thank you for sharing the story. And again, it just goes to show when you're open to listening, it's amazing how life changes. I think sometimes we get these walls built around us that we don't see, but it's people controlling us the way they want us to be. And when we take down those walls by allowing ourselves to grow, it's incredible what we can achieve and find about ourselves. So I want to commend you because you took one of the biggest travesties, maybe the biggest travesty we've ever seen on American soil, and turned it into influencing, as you said, sharing your gifts for everybody else's benefits. And it's beautiful. So thank you for doing that. It's such when I look at it, your story is so impacting of moments that were really singular. Because sometimes we see, let's just take an athlete. They're on a football team. I'll take a male athlete on a football team, and then the coach doesn't play him, and then he works harder in the gym, and then he becomes a starter, and then they change his position. He goes to another team, and slowly over a long journey, they become the person they were born to be. Yet yours have been singular moments. What would you tell other ladies that are listening to this that may be going through the hardest time of their life and they're living in fear because history has it that many times the female is reliant on the male's income, or they've been held back through the ability to discover themselves at a young age, the way society is set up? How does someone find that inner power to listen to themselves and then jump in?
So when I heard and felt that message of share your gifts, I was also deeply aware that each of us has a gift inside. Each of us is born with something, whether it's an innate talent or a desire to help the world in a specific way. And for me, I can share that the easiest way to do that is to have a meditation practice. That can be journaling, that can be sitting in nature, that can be, a gratitude list, whatever it is. There needs to be some point in the day, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, when you're communing with yourself so that you know where you are, what you have to bring and to share with the world. And if you're not sure what that is, ask your best friend. Your friends know, what your gifts are. You can say, "Hey, what am I really good at?" And they'll say, "Oh my gosh, you're the best listener," or "I really love when I work out with you," or whatever. They always have something really wonderful to say if they're really truly your friend.
So the fear, effectively what you're saying is normal, but you'll remove the fear by tapping back into yourself and then having the trust. But within that, what about the team around you? How important is that? Because with all the great things you've done, you obviously have your husband that you met when you decided to jump into the journey that you went from Cabo back into Los Angeles. Team, talk to me about that.
I really am a believer in alone we go faster, together we go farther. And one of the executive jobs, one of the corporate jobs that I've had was as the community leader for a company called Manduka. I'm sure you've seen their logo on yoga mats and whatnot. And so I was able to create this influencer community. We had like 300 different yoga instructors. And it was such a powerful reminder of when we come together, it's that whole idea of a rising tide lifts all ships. If there's one person in the group that has energy and drive and mission, it literally lifts us all up. So throughout my life, I've had many different circles of community, whether it was personal, professional, very often, thank goodness, both. And that is also something that I would attribute my health to. So my ability to thrive in this world was not just lifting weights or not just yoga, but honestly, like going to a step class and knowing that you've got 30 friends there, there's power in that. There's power in breathing together and communing.
So you haven't just mentored your clients. Seeing you speak on stage, you mentor other trainers, other coaches. How would you advise them then to find someone or find people that would support your mission even when you're not sure that you're on the right one? Because I know so many people that go through that. They go, okay, this is what I want to do. They get on it. And then we have the imposter syndrome come along where I'm just not good enough. And then we have the fake syndrome. I don't know as much as I thought I know because now I'm in a different world. How do you advise those that you mentor, not just train, but mentor, to find that team that maybe may not be their friends because you're stepping into a new world?
Mm. So there's a wonderful gentleman who came to me last year and he said, will you mentor me? And I was just so honored and like, oh my gosh, yes, me, of course. Um, and so what we spoke about was exactly what you're saying. You know, what do I do when I feel like I'm not enough? What do I do when I feel like I'm scared? That kind of thing. And what I really encouraged him to do was to kind of take a look at where he is now and where he wants to be. And then let's build the steps to sort of bridge the delta. But additionally, who's there? Who's where you want to be? Are there other trainers? It doesn't have to be a trainer. It could be an actor. It could be someone from a different profession that inspires you. I say go out and contact them and, say, I'm a fan and do you have any advice for me? Or are there any life lessons that you'd like to share with me? And there are so many amazing people. If you just DM them, half of them answer. It's fantastic. And you can say, what is your biggest piece of advice on my career path? And it can be such a sweet opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. I got a great story. Pierce Brosnan, the actor.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I was acting in movies and TV for many years, and I met him, and I was hoping because I went in with this, idea. I just happened to meet him in the street, and we got talking. He's from England, and we had the same agent back in England. I said, "So, who would be a good agent over here? What advice would you give me?" And I was hoping he'd turn around and say, "Well, come and meet my agent." But all he said to me was, "Be lucky,"
Oh,
and that was it. And I was offended, not offended, but I was like, "Oh, that's it." Until I realized what he said was brilliant advice. But we become luckiest when we work hard. And so it was a subliminal message of keep doing what you're doing with the passion and the hard work that you're investing into, and luck comes your way because you're in the right place at the right time. So I love what you said. And absolutely, people may not give you the message you want to hear, but within that, there's a dynamic message. So let me go on. You're in great health, great fitness level, transitioning into obviously you've gone meditation. It seems to everything comes back to meditation with you as far as your base foundation and preparation. And I'm a huge believer also in visualization for performance. But then the actual workouts themselves, do you switch workouts? We've got this new fad wave that's coming on now, which is the cardio, then the strength training, then the hit workouts, and you've got to mix them all together. What is your go-to?
I find that to be very confusing. Um, I I'm super old school. I lived in LA for 20 years. I went to Golds. I like to lift. I like to lift heavy, and it makes me feel like like powerful and strong. It also serves my body very well. I tend to be more hypermobile, ectomorph. I need to stabilize and keep muscle mass on, especially as I get older. I want to make sure that my bones are healthy and that I can stand up tall for many, many years to come. I really love the work of Paul Chek down in San Diego, and he talks about the seven primal movements. So things like hinge, squat, lunge, push, pull, twist, gait. I think I got all seven. Just getting back to basics and making sure that as a human being, you can move in a way that's functional for your life. I've got kids. They're older now. I've got a 12-year-old and a 17-year-old. I'm not lifting them, but am I lifting some sports equipment? Uh-huh. So I want to make sure that I'm very strong and that my body is benefiting from strength training. Now, I think that it gets really confusing when you tell people, okay, you should do this, and then you should do that, and then you should do this, and it becomes overwhelming. And that was why I wrote my second book with two other trainers. It's called Total Body Beautiful. It's for women over 35 years old because I felt like there's just too much information thrown at women. So I paired up with Andrea Orbeck. She's a celebrity trainer, Nicole Stewart, who is an incredible Pilates teacher. And then I, of course, came in with yoga. And what we did was we broke it up into do this on this day. And also, there's some personalization in there. So, based on how you feel, choose this program or that program. Because again, it can just be overwhelming.
Yeah, I see it so much. I also see a lot of these trainers that are now teaching. It's funny you say Gold's Gym. That's where I work out, although it just got bought out by EOS. So there's only one Gold's Gym left now, which is the main one in Venice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing them train men and women exactly the same way. There's no personalization. I see ladies come in looking in good shape and walking out bulky. And we're not talking about the same day. We're talking, 3 months, 6 months down there, looking less feminine. And not that looking feminine or not is not the guidance, but they seem to lose themselves when they get with the wrong person and get hooked onto something because they were told by the leader. I'm a big believer like yourself in lifting heavy, but again, relative to what your goals are, because there's millions of people around this world that have never set foot in a gym and they're super healthy and super successful in longevity. What about your cardio side? What do you do, and how much do you mix yoga still with lifting heavy?
So I'm sort of an every other day person. So yoga one day, lifting the next day, yoga, etc. I When I go to cardio, I do so more in a meditative state because that's who I am. So I take really, really long walks here in Hawaii alongside the Pacific Ocean. That way, it doesn't feel like cardio to me. I am not the person that will be on a treadmill. I feel like a rat on a habit trail. When will this end? But if you stick me next to the ocean with the sunshine and my dog, then I'm like, yes, let's go.
That goes down to a lot of the zone 2 training philosophy that's coming out now that we're seeing also taken on by professional athletes. It's not just a general population. In fact, the professional athletes are leading the zone 2, which for people listening is really where your exercise and your heart rate's elevated, but you could still hold a conversation. It's just not sedentary. But when it comes to your lifting heavy then, tell us a little bit about your sets, your reps, what's your rest in between? Do you find you're getting an elevated heart rate, not just during the exercise, you're sustaining it, or are you going up in the exercise and coming down again?
Up and down. So usually it's about 3 sets. I'll have like three, let's say, supersets. So I'm combining. There'll be exercise 1, exercise 2, exercise 3. I have at least 45 seconds to 1 minute between the different exercises. And sometimes I pull in some plyometric training as well. So do I get my heart rate up when I'm jumping? Yes, of course. Do I get my heart rate up when I'm lifting heavy? Yes, of course. I also know that I'm going to have a beneficial cardiac response if I go up and then I come down. That's where we get a lot of those health benefits as opposed to just staying up all the time. If I stay up all the time, I feel like it burns me out too quickly. And I don't like that feeling. I like to hang out in the gym a little bit longer than most people. I know everyone's like, I got 20 minutes. I want in, I want out. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm the odd bird who wants to be there for an hour and really enjoy every moment of it. Because again, I know that I'm not just fortifying my muscles, it's also my mind. If I can do one more rep of that heavy, you know what, weight, guess what? I can do one more rep in my real life. I can face that difficult situation. What I build in the gym is what I'm going to take out into the world.
So I know you said you alternate between heavy lifting and yoga. Do you also break your body workout down to upper body, lower body, abs, or do you tend to work, because it's really hard to lift heavy on all body parts on one day?
Oh yeah, no. I definitely break it up. So for example, I'm real old school with push and pull, you know. One day might be back, bicep, and quads. Next day, the opposite muscles, but I've got the day in between to recover. And because of how it's set out, the actual muscle groups actually have like 4 days in between to recover. I believe in recovery. I do not want to overtax those muscles.
Do you have a favorite body part? Because everybody tends to have a favorite body part. They love to work out. And then do you have a problem area that you focus on, or are you just gifted that everything just reacts because you've been doing this for so long?
Um, I'm very much ectomorph. I tend to be just kind of skinny, scrawny, and I have to work. I have to work for my muscles. Do I have a favorite body part? I can squat heavy. I can squat far past my body weight, no problem. Do I have something that's more of a challenge? Yeah, my biceps are still kind of puny after all these years. I give them lots of love and attention, but I have oh gosh, the technical word is, let me remember it. I think it's cubital recurvatum, something like that. I'm like, hypermobile and bendy, and my elbows can go way past straight. So I have to work extra hard on my biceps.
So you're one of those people that we go to a party, they put on the party trick, and we're all kind of like, oh,
Yeah,
God, how do you do that? So,
totally.
yeah, I've been
It
around.
helps me in yoga.
I was going to say that's crazy. But so, what advice would you now give if anybody's listening here and they want to start on a health journey? Either they've been unhealthy for many years, often that comes from trauma or some form of depression that they've been living through from not being themselves, and they've decided, I'm going to become the best me. Take me through a little journey of what you would advise them to do and how to get going.
I love beginners. I love beginners, whether it's first time ever in the gym or first time after a decade or first time after having a baby, because we get to build the foundation in such a beautiful way and teach things like the diaphragm and the pelvic floor moving down when you inhale, the belly expanding, and then what happens when you exhale, how it all lifts. And so when I work with beginners, I love to, of course, implement my signature program, which is the body mind workout. And what that entails is meditation and visualization. And then we move to yoga and to fitness. So it's a little bit of everything. Now, I break that up for me in my personal life because I simply have more time and I've been doing it for so long and I have this lifelong love affair with each. But for beginners, I'm going to give that all packaged to you in like 20 minutes a day. I do not want to overwhelm you. I want you to enjoy movement so that you can fall in love with it. And I had a trainer many years ago at Gold's Gym Venice, Joanne Lee Cornish, also from England. And I remember someone asked her one day in the gym, someone was walking by and said, "What is the best exercise I can do?" And she said, "The one that you will do." Drop the mic. And so I really feel aligned with that. If you'll do it, fantastic. If this is not the workout for you, cool, we'll help find you another one. But if you can start small, approachable, easy, and enjoyable, then we can build that foundation together.
I love that. Great advice. I'm a big believer, this is just me. It's better to be unhealthy and happy than unhappy and healthy. That's just my perspective because there's a lot of trauma that goes on when we're unhappy and we're working out to cover up the fact that we're not happy. But if you can
Mm.
obviously have a combination of both, happy and healthy, that's what we want to aim for. And there's so many people around the world, again, that are super healthy and never set foot in a gym. So, as you just said, the best one, or as your trainer said, the best one is the one you do. So, if you don't like going to a gym, you don't have to go to a gym. Go out hiking, go play games, take on challenges of things that you love to do, because that will keep you moving. And that's the first foundation of, for me, longevity. But you bring up a really good point. You've had a number of trainers. How do you find the right trainer for you?
Ooh, such a great question. So I'm smart enough to know that coaches are fantastic. And as a coach, I love to be coached. What I have done in the past is not only to get recommendations or testimonials from others, but I actually go and watch people train because I want to see, how are you interacting with these people? And are you looking at your Apple Watch? Are you sort of sneaking in a snack off to the side because you aren't taking care of yourself well enough? I like to just kind of watch a little bit and then go from there. Additionally, of course, I feel like there should be an interview and just make sure that you're the right fit for one another. Because even if you think that person is your person, you might not be theirs, and that's okay. We just have to find that sort of special relationship.
Yeah, I watch a lot of trainers. Every time I'm training, I'm watching all the trainers, how they're interacting. I can say out of every 10, there's probably one that I look at and say, I would put my girlfriend with them, I put my mother with them. Most of them, unfortunately, are allowed to get away with less than their best
Mhm.
investing. But just my experience. But how would you then take that and say, okay, I found a trainer, I thought they were good for me, and I'm no longer enjoying it, maybe even after 5 or 6 sessions, but you've paid for 12.
Mhm.
What advice? And I know I'm throwing a lot of questions at you, but you're so
Yeah.
smart and giving such great advice. We didn't come in with any prepared questions here, but it's all coming up because I know people are always asking me similar type of questions. How would you break that relationship? Or you can't get your money back. What would you do?
I would first give them the opportunity to adjust. I would say, hey, I'm feeling burnt out or tired or not energized after our workouts or whatever that feeling is for the individual, so that the trainer does have the opportunity. Trainers don't always get real-time feedback. And we need that. We need to know, like, hey, how do you feel? And it might be that the trainer just didn't ask. And that's a problem unto itself, but that's okay. But if we could sit down with the trainer and say, hey, I'm really looking to feel more energized after we work out, or could we bring in something like boxing or something that's just going to like give me a little more fun because I enjoy that. Many trainers will be totally open to that, and they might even be thinking, oh, thank goodness, like if I have to see someone else squat on a Smith rack, I'm going to lose my mind. There's there's an opportunity for growth. If that does not work, or if it's just not well received, I would consider gifting the sessions that are left over to someone else. And you can do that. I mean, obviously, you don't want to then put the person that didn't work well with you onto someone that you love, but you might realize like, oh, hey, you know what? This person would be such a great fit for my uncle because he just wants to do this kind of workout. But I think communication is key. And if you can start with an open dialogue, you really give people the opportunity to step up.
So, what about nutrition? I know we weren't going to touch on this, not that we agreed not to, but what do you think is the foundation that people need to go to get a great workout and post workout taking care of the body? Because it doesn't start when you lift the first weight and it doesn't stop when you walk out the gym.
So I've been listening to a lot of this really wise man on podcasts talk about how when he shifted his philosophy to the word nourish, he took his body fat down. Um, so I've learned a lot from you, Dan. And in addition to, looking at macros and micros, and we can talk about all that, and that's interesting, for sure. I think it's also important to remember that when we are nourishing ourselves, it isn't only what we take in through our mouth, it's what we take in through our eyes and our ears. So did you wake up in the morning and like go straight to caffeine and CNN or Fox News, and that's like what you nourished your brain and your body with? Oh my goodness, you're not going to feel so good in half an hour, right? So when you wake up in the morning, please like drink some water. For goodness sakes, just go drink some water. And then we can start to get into, what are the correct macros for your body, but also realizing we have these other beautiful category of micronutrients, things like magnesium and iron. And are you looking at that? And if I'm completely overwhelming you, let me pull it back and just say, go get your blood work done. And then you can see, what do I need? And it's right there.
Yeah, I'm working with a great formulator right now. Incredible guy with my own supplement line coming out because we look at things that a lot of us have very expensive urine. It's the reality. We're taking all these things that the body can't assimilate, or, for example, magnesium. There's three main types of magnesium. Only one of them will pass the blood-brain barrier. Once you get into the brain, it can't have more than it needs. And so if it's got enough and your body's producing it, it's just got to let it out. But we're buying thinking we need all this stuff. And I see people are taking 50, 60 supplement tablets a day, but we don't know what we really need. And going back to that natural, finding good food, making sure that we're listening to our body, feeling it. So I love your advice. I think blood work is really invaluable to find out more about you. Is there any supplement that you take or that you feel is so dynamic that people should be looking at that, not necessarily to take it, but to check out if they need it?
I take creatine. I've just read so many studies on it and everything's good. So I take that. The other thing I should mention, I have two boys. I have a 17-year-old and a 12-year-old. And my 12-year-old has become like the food label police. And if I try to bring anything into my house that has a seed oil, oh my goodness. He's like, Mom, what are you doing? Why do you want to ingest petrol? And I'm like, wait, what? So, in addition to supplements, which can be fabulous if they're right for your body, it's also making sure that we keep out, to your point, things that the body can't process.
Yeah, that's the old saying that I heard a very wise man say. And he said, it's not necessarily what we take, it's what we eliminate.
Ooh.
We don't have to always bring in something new. We got to look at what we're doing. And that came down to my whole changing from eat to nourish. All I had to do was clean up what I was doing and the body reacted naturally. So love that. And I'm a huge fan of creatine. It's incredible for brain health. We used to think it was a bodybuilding supplement. And when I was racing bikes, I used to take it and found that I would dehydrate quicker. So I had to be more aware of my hydration while I was taking creatine and constantly. But the impact it's had now on brain and after the brain research, love creatine. Is there a certain one that you like the best?
I use Thorn. I find it to be very clean. I also really like it for women my age. So women in that perimenopausal transition, I feel like it has so many benefits.
That's great. And people can find this information on your website, or do you not really talk about supplementation so much on there?
I don't talk about supplementation so much, but I'm really accessible. If you email me, my email's my name, Desi Bartlett at Gmail. I'm always happy to share what I use.
That's crazy. Well, maybe this might be something you got to start putting on your website. And I'm not saying for you to do it, but I think there's so much in need more than ever now because we're not living the natural life that we used to. And there's so much stress that I think that people need your information. You've been incredible on here. I've loved your information that you've shared. Thank you so much. Obviously, a brilliant educator. And I advise people to go to desibartlett.com and see everything you're offering. I have one final question for you. 100 years from now, what is the one message that you would love to leave as your legacy that if someone read it then would turn around and say, I wish I could have met this lady?
That we all have deep reservoirs of strength in us that are untapped. And if we can close our eyes, breathe deeply, and connect to the strength within, we have the power to do anything that we want to.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that and sharing your stories as well, and even more your knowledge. So with that, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you on stage or at some of these events and following you, and we'll get together and go over that sleep meditation as well.
I look forward to it. It would be a joy, absolute joy to work with you in the future. You are fantastic and knowledgeable and kind, and I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Aloha.
Aloha.